Hateful messages left in South Florida are not a crime.
Anti-Semitism and hate have no place in Florida.
But lawmakers are looking to change that. Those who treasure Miami Beach
We've had like over 200 cleanups and
working
picked
to
up
clean up the
like
trash. Ticketmaster and Taylor Swift
I do feel like they could do something about it.
at issue on Capitol Hill. Plus, the technology sector dealing with a job crunch.
The inflation is making it more confusing.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Nicole Castañeda.
I'm Leon Abutarbush. Today is Friday, January 27, 2023.
Live from the FIU Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Father arrested. Police say it is for what he placed in a kindergarten's backpack. Police say the gun the 6-year-old brought to school in Homestead was not loaded.
The network's Kenya Cardone is live outside Keys Gate Charter School.
This is quite the story. It all happened right here at Keys Gate Charter School. Police say that father put a gun inside of his 6-year-old's backpack, forgot that he placed it there, and then still drove his son to school that day. Now, I want to go ahead and show you his mugshot. This is 39-year-old Reginald McCoy. He now faces a third-degree felony charge for child neglect. It is important to note, though, that gun was unloaded. The school released a statement saying, quote, "We are so proud of a student who saw a suspicious item and immediately reported this to a trusted adult. We immediately involved law enforcement and no student or staff were ever in danger." Now, you may recall a situation very similar to this happening not too long ago in Virginia, where another 6-year-old boy brought a gun to school and shot his teacher, Abigail Zwerner, at Rich Neck Elementary School. We now know that authorities at that school were warned 3 times about that first grader having a gun, meaning it could have been prevented. Now, the superintendent does find himself without a job. Back out here live, things like this keep happening, and it's a really important reminder to parents, families out there that have firearms or weapons in their homes to be aware of how accessible their children are to those firearms. That's the very latest from Homestead. I'm live. Kenya Cardone, South Florida Media Network.
Right now in Florida, putting anti-Semitic messages in someone's law is not a crime. As the network's Gabriela Perez reports, lawmakers in Tallahassee want to change this.
Anti-Semitism and hate have no place in Florida, and that's why I'm proud to announce HB 269, which targets and deals with these acts of hate.
The South Florida Jewish community is affected once again after a woman finds a recent anti-Semitic flyer in her driveway and says that she's afraid to leave her house. These anti-Semitic flyers have been found in neighborhoods all across South Florida in the past year. I am standing in just one of the locations here in Broward County.
This is despicable and it's cowardly.
But officials say no charges will be made due to freedom of speech.
Even hate speech gets constitutional protection.
Pamphlets have reached all the way to Palm Beach County.
This is so horrible that this is going on in the world.
The community hopes legislators continue to work towards preventing this situation from happening again.
Any person distributing flyers involving materials that have religious or ethnic animus are mass distributed will be committing a third-degree felony from now on.
As Florida lawmakers pass this bill, flyers continue to appear in people's front yards. For South Florida Media Network, I'm Gabriela Perez.
Memphis is on edge this morning, bracing for more information about the death of Tyree Nichols. Authorities say video footage of his encounter with police earlier this month will be released later today. The city, as well as many others across the United States, are preparing for what is expected to be a disturbing video of his death. Nichols was beaten by 5 now former Memphis police officers.
DC police are also preparing for possible protests against Memphis police following the murder of Tyree Nichols. Last night, officers began putting up fencing surrounding the U.S. Capitol. It's all in anticipation of possible protests against the Memphis Police Department.
Over a third of Americans rent their homes using a multi-agency approach. The Biden administration is aiming to protect renters with new policy. The Federal Housing Finance Agency will investigate into possible limits on rent hikes, while the Housing Department will work on public housing and rental assisting properties. It proposes allowing people who miss a rent payment a 30 days notice before ending their lease. Other agencies will focus on credit report accuracy and background check methods.
Tech companies across the nation are laying off employees in the tens of thousands, marking a large shift in the industry. Sofia Zuniga from our DC Bureau has more.
Over 150,000 tech employees have been laid off nationwide in the past 6 months, leaving more questions than answers on how the giants of the tech industry will continue to move forward. Amazon, Google, Meta, and others have announced major layoffs amid a troubling economy. Tech companies grew quickly during the pandemic and are now returning to their pre-pandemic numbers. In an email to Amazon employees, CEO Andy Jassy wrote, "This year's review has been more difficult given the uncertain economy and that we've hired rapidly over the last years. We plan to eliminate just over 18,000 roles."
Tech companies are cutting back on this COVID bump, which they would have done regardless of the inflation or not. The inflation is making it more confusing because simultaneously, Federal Reserve is trying to slow down the economy.
Although this does not apply to Amazon's plans in Virginia, where it will bring 25,000 jobs in the next decade. An Amazon spokesperson told ABC that their commitment to communities like HQ2 remains unchanged. Experts say that the tech industry will readjust in the long term.
We are going to see a slowing of the economy, but not a major impact. This is a very prosperous area.
Tech employees make up a little over 9% of the workforce in the nation's capital, but the layoffs have also affected the close to 5% of workers in Florida. Florida is the fourth largest employer of technology jobs with a total of 446,000, with mass amounts of people moving to Florida during the pandemic at the second highest number of added tech jobs at 10,522, most of which were in Miami.
So they're slowing down the rate of growth and the number of hires, but still this is a very good economy.
A few companies such as Google and Amazon have promised their workers severance packages and help with their future job searches. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network from Crystal City, Virginia, I'm Sofia Zuniga.
Bars, restaurants, and salon businesses in Washington, D.C. are preparing for a new law that will raise tipped workers' wages beginning May 1st. Reporter Sabrina Begery-Stein joins us from Washington, D.C.
I'm standing on 14th Street, a popular area filled with bars and restaurants that will be implementing Initiative 82, which was recently passed by D.C. voters to increase tipped employees' minimum wage. Many of these businesses will need to adjust their budget in order to pay their employees $16.10 by 2027.
The Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington believes Initiative 82 will cause restaurants to increase labor costs, lay off employees, and raise menu prices. The Assistant General Manager of Mexique in D.C. believes otherwise.
I haven't heard anything about laying people off or menu prices changing, only watching the labor in the front of the house and really putting the right people there and to hire the right people, train the right people, so you don't have a problem with having less people on the floor rather than not wasting money, but having a lot of servers on, people standing around doing nothing. So it depends on how the business is being ran.
In most states like Florida, servers are not paid the state minimum wage. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, Florida pays their tipped employees $7.98 an hour, while Washington, D.C. currently pays $5.35 an hour, which will change starting May 1st when it goes up to $6.
I think generally it's probably a good thing, and I think that it's probably long overdue anyway. So I definitely think people will still support their businesses and also tip on top of, a livable fair wage.
Washington, D.C. will be joining states like California and Oregon who've decided to increase the minimum wage for tipped workers. Many D.C. locals are in support for the initiative, but are unsure of how businesses will adapt to this law.
Some restaurants are going to be okay with it, but some are going to be nasty about it. They're going to raise, or maybe shut down or fire people.
Congress has a say over laws in D.C. and is currently reviewing this one, but it is not expected to stop it from being implemented. I'm Sabrina Begerstein in Washington, D.C. for the South Florida Media Network.
With Miami's blue skies and tropical vibes, it's nice to have clean beaches. The network's Vanessa Garcia dives in to tell us about the ways we can have just that.
South Florida is known for its beautiful beaches, but in order to protect them, something must be done. And that is when Clean Miami Beach comes to save the day. Clean Miami Beach is a nonprofit organization founded by Sophie Ringo, dedicated to keeping the community from harmful pollutants in Miami Beach and its marine wildlife.
So everyone becomes more aware and also thinks about maybe I should change a few habits in my everyday life as well.
The organization hosts cleanups in where the community of South Florida can come together to provide a clean space for the environment.
We've had like over 200 cleanups and picked up like 70,000. Without this organization, that garbage would still be there.
The program has gained recognition over the years, allowing greater number of volunteers, including city officials, teachers, students, and executives to take part in the cause. While there might be a solution, the environment has a long way to go. But in the meantime, Clean Miami Beach nonprofit will help reduce one plastic at a time. To become more involved, you can visit cleanmiamibeach.org. I'm Vanessa Garcia, South Florida Media Network.
An Ivy League school challenges chatbot by putting it up against a graduate level exam.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
I think that it was kind of outrageous that, the prices were so high.
Swift action is expected from lawmakers after music fans voice their unhappiness with Ticketmaster. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Fan frenzy as followers of Taylor Swift and their anger over Ticketmaster make it all the way to Capitol Hill. A Senate subcommittee held a hearing this past Tuesday on the controversy that happened last year over ticket sales for concerts by artist Taylor Swift.
Angela Rivas from our DC bureau joins from the Capitol.
The U.S. Senate's antitrust panel was looking into how the whole thing was handled last fall. Legislators are looking into whether Ticketmaster, which was in charge of the original sales, did a poor job of managing it, due to them being part of a monopoly and fans have nowhere else to go.
During the 3-hour meeting, senators questioned Live Nation president Joe Berchtold on the company's inability to handle the sale. The meeting came to no final result as senators introduced the idea of restricting the ability to transfer tickets and encourage reselling tickets to help the scalping market. On November 16, Ticketmaster held pre-sales for Taylor Swift's highly anticipated tour, reaching wait times up to 2,000 people in line at any given time. So many tickets were grabbed in the pre-sale that the general sale was canceled, leaving many fans nationwide upset.
I think that it was kind of outrageous that, the prices were so high. I think that government intervention is sometimes needed, especially when things kind of go awry.
Miami Taylor Swift fan and FIU alum Monica Correa, who bought tickets to her Detroit concert, feels that artists should do something about how tickets are sold.
Artists like Taylor Swift, like let's say Beyonce, huge people, I do feel like they could do something about it.
Fans took to social media to express their frustration with the company. Their outcry started getting government attention, with New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez weighing in.
Other elected officials expressed their frustration, including U.S. California Representative Katie Porter, who tweeted in November of last year that she and her colleagues are urging the Department of Justice to investigate Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster is headquartered in Porter's Los Angeles district. I'm Angela Rivas reporting from Washington, D.C. for the South Florida Media Network.
ChatGPT is a powerful and new artificial intelligence tool that is smart enough to pass prestigious graduate-level exams, but not with the notably high grades. At the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, the chat box received an AB to B- grade in a business management course exam at Wharton School. While a business professor stated that the bot did a great job at answering basic operations management and process analysis questions, it struggled with more advanced prompts.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Leanne Obotor-Bush.
And I'm Nicole Castañeda. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.